There is a silent river flowing all around you, through your thoughts, your emotions, even your breath. It moves without asking for your permission. It shapes the way you love, the way you fear, the way you dream. Yet most of us live without ever noticing it. Like fish unaware of the ocean they swim in, this river is not made of water. It's made of energy, unseen, untouched, but more real than anything we can hold in our hands. Every moment of your life has been shaped by this invisible flow. Not just the big moments, but the small ones too. A glance that lingers, a word that wounds, a decision made in the quiet hours of doubt. The greatest mistake we make is thinking we are separate from it, that life is something happening to us. But what if you are not apart from this river? What if you are the river itself? Somewhere deep within, you already know this, not with the thinking mind, but with something older, quieter, wiser. A knowing that once moved freely, like sunlight on water, before layers of noise and forgetting covered it over. Awakening is not about gaining something new. It's about peeling away what was never truly yours, the fear, the striving, the stories of separation, and remembering the vastness you have always belonged to. This journey does not require you to believe anything. It only invites you to look, to feel, and to remember. To notice the flow you are already part of, the flow that has been shaping you, calling you, and waiting for your attention. You don't have to force the river to flow. It already does. Your only task is to wake up, feel it moving, and choose to move with it, with awareness, with wonder, with the quiet courage to live differently. Discovering the hidden energy inside you. There is a silence within you that has never been broken. Beneath the noise of thoughts, beyond the shifting tides of emotions, there is a current, steady, ancient, alive. It is not something you need to create. It is something you need to uncover. Most of your life, you have been taught to look outward, to seek answers in books, teachers, systems, and structures. But the most profound discovery is not something you find outside. It is the hidden energy already pulsing within you, quietly waiting for you to notice. This energy is not dramatic or loud. It does not announce itself with fireworks or shouting voices. It reveals itself in stillness, in the quiet between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, in the soft awareness that notices without trying to control. It is the vitality that fills your body with life, the spark behind your eyes, the gentle intelligence guiding your every heartbeat. We often think of energy as something we must chase, harness, or control, like trying to capture the wind in our hands. But real energy, true energy, is never separate from who you are. It doesn't come from effort. It comes from awakening to what has always been flowing inside you. When you feel tired, disconnected, or lost, it is not because the energy has left you. It is because layers of resistance, of mental chatter, of forgotten stillness have covered over the connection. Discovering the hidden energy inside you is less like achieving a goal and more like remembering an old song you once knew by heart. The melody is still there beneath the noise. All you have to do is grow quiet enough to hear it again. Awareness, pure and simple, is the doorway. Not forcing, not striving, just noticing, and letting the noticing reveal the river that never stopped flowing. Modern science is beginning to catch glimpses of this invisible reality. Researchers studying the body's electromagnetic fields have found that our hearts emit a measurable field of energy that changes with our emotional state. Neurobiologists show how subtle shifts in attention and focus alter the patterns of electrical activity in our brains. Quantum physicists propose that consciousness itself may be entangled with the very fabric of the universe. These discoveries, while recent to science, echo truths that ancient wisdom traditions have whispered for centuries. Think of the last time you stood at the edge of the ocean or walked beneath towering trees in a silent forest. There was a moment, however fleeting, when you forgot yourself, when you felt part of something vast and living and timeless. That sensation was not outside of you. It was you, meeting yourself again without the walls of thought and story in between. Buddhist teachings often speak of our original face, the essence, of being that exists before we attach labels, roles, and judgments. The hidden energy inside you is not something to be added. It is your original face. It is the clear sky behind the clouds, the river beneath the ice. When you stop chasing, when you stop fighting, when you simply notice with open-hearted awareness, you begin to feel it, a hum of life, quiet and undeniable. This energy does not demand. It invites. It does not command. It waits patiently for your return. And when you remember, even for a breath, even for a moment, you realize that you were never broken, never lost. You were simply asleep to the luminous river already flowing through you. The journey of awakening is not a climb to some distant peak. It is the gentle removal of what blinds you to the treasure already at your feet. As we move deeper into this exploration, you will see that what you seek is not outside of you. It has always been here, whispering, waiting, shining quietly at the center of your being. Breaking free from invisible mental limits. Most of the walls that confine us are not made of stone or steel. They are invisible, woven from beliefs we inherited, absorbed, and rarely questioned. Long before we knew how to speak, the world began whispering rules to us. What is possible? What is safe? What is allowed? These rules seeped into our bones, shaping how we think, how we move, how we dream. Over time, they harden into invisible prisons, not because they are true, but because they are familiar. The human mind craves certainty, and it builds walls to feel safe. But the same walls that protect also imprison. We grow up mistaking these invisible barriers for the edges of reality itself. We stop reaching for possibilities just beyond our grasp. We learn to shrink, to edit ourselves, to fit inside cages we never agreed to build. And perhaps the saddest part is, we call it maturity. The invisible limits we carry are rarely logical. A child touched by shame learns not to speak their truth. A young dreamer dismissed for their wild ideas learns to silence their imagination. A heart wounded by rejection learns to love cautiously, half-heartedly. These limits are not facts about the world. They are scars written into the way we see. Buddhism speaks of the second arrow, the idea that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The first arrow is the pain life brings. The second arrow is the story we tell ourselves about that pain. I am unworthy. I am powerless. I am trapped. It is the second arrow that binds us to our suffering. The invisible limits are second arrows driven deep into the fabric of our minds, long after the original wound has passed. To break free from these unseen cages, the first step is not fighting harder. It is seeing clearly. Awareness dissolves what force cannot. You begin by noticing the tightness in your chest when you speak up, the old fear that whispers when you dare to try, the quiet voice saying, "Who do you think you are?" You notice not to obey, but to understand. You realize these voices are echoes, not truths. They are conditioned responses, not destiny. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Studies show that once we recognize a limiting belief, its power over us begins to weaken. Neural pathways formed by repetition can be reshaped by new experiences, new insights, new choices. The brain's plasticity, its ability to change, is an invitation to freedom. What feels fixed is, in truth, fluid. Imagine standing in a familiar room, believing it is the whole world. Now imagine finding a door, slightly ajar, leading to a vast landscape outside. At first, the open space feels overwhelming. You may even want to retreat back to the safety of the small room. Freedom is not always comfortable at first, but once you taste it, you cannot forget the taste. Breaking free does not mean erasing your past or pretending your wounds never happened. It means meeting those wounds with compassion, recognizing their shape, and choosing not to let them define you anymore. It means realizing that limits were learned, and what was learned can be unlearned. Energy, at its essence, flows freely and less obstructed. The same is true for your potential. The walls in your mind are not part of your true nature. They are temporary constructions. And what has been constructed can be deconstructed lovingly, patiently, bravely. Each time you notice a hidden limit and gently step beyond it, you reclaim a piece of your own energy. You gather the scattered fragments of yourself and weave them into wholeness again. This is not a battle to win. It is a homecoming. The Buddha taught that liberation is not somewhere far away. It is here, now hidden in plain sight, the moment you stop believing the illusions that bind you. Freedom is not earned. It is remembered. As you move through this journey, you will not need to tear down all the walls at once. You will simply need to notice the nearest door and step through it, even if your hands tremble. Every small step beyond an invisible limit is an act of awakening. Every act of awakening is a ripple that changes not just your life, but the entire field of energy you move within. You were not born to live inside someone else's idea of what is possible. You were born to move freely, to live fully, to be the living expression of energy unbound. The keys have always been in your hands. Now is the time to remember how to use them. Seeing more clearly, feeling more deeply. Most of what we experience in life is not reality itself, but our filtered version of it. The mind, like an old lens, projects assumptions, expectations, and fears onto everything it touches. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. This is not a flaw. It is a natural function of survival. Yet if we never question these filters, we mistake their distortions for the truth, and our world remains small, colored by unseen biases we no longer recognize. Learning to see more clearly is not about sharpening your intellect or collecting more facts. It is about softening the habitual judgments that cloud perception. It is about noticing the stories you automatically assign to people, places, and moments, and learning to look beyond them. When you release the rigid frames around your experiences, the world begins to reveal itself as it truly is: alive, dynamic, far more mysterious, and beautiful than the mind's quick labels can capture. True clarity comes not from focusing harder, but from relaxing into presence. Imagine gazing at a lake early in the morning. If the surface is agitated, stirred by wind or stones, you cannot see into the depths. But when the surface grows still, the water becomes clear, and the hidden life below is revealed. Your mind is like that lake. When stirred by endless thoughts, it distorts reality. When settled, it reflects the world and yourself with stunning clarity. Feeling more deeply follows naturally from seeing more clearly. When you are no longer caught in the mental fog of assumptions and distractions, you begin to feel the subtle textures of life again. A simple breeze against your skin carries 1,000 sensations. A passing glance holds a world of meaning. A single breath becomes a profound act of existence. Buddhist practice often speaks of beginner's mind, the ability to meet each moment as if for the first time, without the burden of memory or expectation. When you meet life this way, every leaf, every sound, every encounter becomes vivid. You step out of autopilot and into the miracle of direct experience. You don't just live, you feel life living through you. Modern neuroscience confirms what ancient teachers knew. Attention shapes perception. When you habitually focus on fears, you wire your brain to expect threat. When you train yourself to notice beauty, connection, and possibility, your brain rewires toward openness and trust. Perception is not fixed. It is alive, constantly sculpted by where you place your attention. Feeling more deeply also means allowing yourself to be touched by beauty, by pain, by the full range of existence. To live fully is to feel fully. Yet many of us, wounded by past experiences, build walls around our hearts. We numb ourselves, thinking we are protecting ourselves from sorrow. But in numbing sorrow, we numb joy as well. In hardening against pain, we harden against life itself. The path of awakening calls for a different kind of courage, the courage to stay open, to let beauty break you open, to let sorrow deepen you rather than diminish you, to trust that what you feel, even when raw and vulnerable, is part of the river that connects all beings. Feeling deeply is not a weakness. It is a return to wholeness. As your vision clears and your heart softens, you will find that life becomes richer, more vivid, more textured. Ordinary moments shimmer with extraordinary depth. You begin to sense the invisible threads connecting you to everyone and everything. This is not a fantasy. It is a homecoming, a return to the reality that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. You are not here to skim the surface of existence, moving from distraction to distraction. You are here to dive deep, to touch the real, to let it change you. Seeing clearly and feeling deeply are not separate skills. They are two sides of the same awakening. When you truly see, you feel. When you truly feel, you see. And in that clarity, in that depth, you come to remember, you were never separate from the life you are now beginning to experience fully for the first time. Living in flow with the universe. Most of our lives, we are taught to fight. Fight for success. Fight for love. Fight for control. We are told that life is a battlefield, that we must push harder, try more, strive endlessly against the tide. Yet deep down, something in us knows this endless striving is not the way. There are moments, rare, luminous, when life feels effortless, when action arises without force, when everything clicks into place as if moved by unseen hands. In those moments, we are not fighting life, we are flowing with it. Living in flow with the universe is not about surrendering your will or abandoning effort. It is about aligning with the natural currents already moving through you and around you. Just as a surfer does not create the wave but learns to ride it, you do not need to create energy. You need to recognize the waves of opportunity, timing, and intuition that life offers and move with them. Fighting the ocean exhausts you. Riding the wave frees you. Flow arises when there is no resistance between you and the moment. Your thoughts, actions, and feelings align into a single stream. You are fully present, fully engaged, yet without force. It is not about perfection. It is about connection to yourself, to others, to the wider dance of existence unfolding all around you. Many spiritual traditions speak of this state in different ways. In Taoism, it is called Wu Wei, effortless action. In Buddhism, it is the state of mindfulness where one acts with full presence, free from clinging or aversion. In Christian mysticism, it is surrendering to divine will not through defeat, but through profound trust. Modern psychology describes it as the flow state, a heightened condition where skill and challenge meet, and the sense of separate self fades away. Flow is not passive. It requires attentiveness. You must listen deeply, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. You must attune yourself to the subtle currents of your own energy and the world's shifting tides. Sometimes flow calls for action, bold and decisive. Other times, it calls for stillness, for patience, for waiting until the right wave rises. Living in flow demands humility. It means accepting that you are not the sole architect of your destiny. You are part of a much greater unfolding, one you can influence but not control. Your job is not to dictate the river's course, but to become so intimate with its movements that you move as one with it. This intimacy is not achieved through analysis. It is cultivated through trust, surrender, and a willingness to be reshaped. Energy moves in patterns. Seasons turn. Tides rise and fall. Life breathes in cycles far older and wiser than our plans. When you live in flow, you begin to sense the timing of things, when to push forward, when to pause, when to let go. You stop trying to force outcomes and start working with what life offers. You become an artist painting with the colors the universe provides, not trying to invent colors that do not exist. Flow is not always comfortable. It will take you into unknown territories. It will strip away the illusions of control you once clung to. It will ask you to trust forces you cannot see. But in return, it will offer you something far greater than security, a living relationship with life itself, a sense of being home, no matter where you are, a joy that does not depend on circumstances. Think of the times when you felt most alive, lost in a conversation, swept up in creating art, moving your body to music without thinking. In those moments, you were not outside life, observing. You were inside it, living it. That is flow. That is the universe moving through you, as you. Living in flow is not a destination. It is a daily invitation. It is a practice of listening, trusting, adapting, and dancing with the forces greater than your small self. Some days it will feel effortless. Other days it will feel messy and uncertain. But every time you choose to return to the river, to let go of forcing and fall into moving presence, you deepen your relationship with life. You do not need to create a perfect life. You need only to say yes, again and again, to the life that is already happening through you. When you do, you find that you were never alone, never powerless, never separate. You were always part of the great unfolding, waiting only for you to remember the rhythm that has always been yours. Living fully awake every single day. Awakening is not a single event, a flash of light that forever transforms you. It is a living practice, renewed every day, sometimes every hour, sometimes every breath. Awakening is not something you achieve and then possess like a trophy. It is a way of being, a continual invitation to meet life as it is, raw, unpredictable, luminous. Living fully awake means bringing presence to moments others might overlook. It means feeling the weight of your body in a chair, noticing the light shifting across the floor, hearing the tone hidden in a stranger's laughter. It is not about withdrawing from life. It is about diving deeper into it, experiencing the vividness hiding in plain sight. This practice is not reserved for monks or mystics. It is for anyone willing to slow down enough to notice the miracle of the ordinary. Washing dishes can be a meditation. Walking to the mailbox can be a sacred journey. Holding a hand, sharing a glance, breathing in the cold morning air. These are not interruptions to spiritual life. They are spiritual life. Buddhism teaches the importance of mindfulness, not as an exotic technique, but as the art of living fully present. When you are awake, life stops being something happening to you. It becomes something you are co-creating moment by moment through your awareness, your intention, your openness. Modern psychology echoes this truth. Research into positive psychology shows that savoring the present, paying deep attention to small joys, dramatically increases happiness and well-being. Gratitude, presence, mindful engagement. These are not luxuries. They are essential tools for living a deeply human life. Living fully awake also means embracing impermanence. Everything you love will change. Every experience, no matter how beautiful, will pass. The seasons turn, the faces around you grow older, the tides of feeling rise and fall. To live awake is to love without clinging, to appreciate without demanding permanence. It is to understand that the very fleetingness of life is what makes it precious. This awareness can soften you, humble you, and deepen your compassion. You no longer move through the world armored in assumptions and defenses. You move with tenderness, knowing that everyone you meet is carrying invisible burdens, fighting silent battles. You see not just what people show, but what they hide. And you respond, not with judgment, but with the fierce kindness that comes from shared vulnerability. Living fully awake does not mean you will never suffer. On the contrary, you may feel more deeply than ever before, but you will also recover more quickly. You will suffer consciously, without the added weight of resistance. Pain will still come, but it will flow through you rather than stick to you. Joy will come too, quieter, more enduring, not tied to circumstance, but arising from the simple fact of being alive and aware. Every day is a canvas offered to you. You can rush past it, lost in distraction, numbed by repetition. Or you can meet it with open eyes and an open heart, painting each moment with your full attention, your full aliveness. Living fully awake means reclaiming your life from autopilot. It means refusing to sleepwalk through the miracle you were born into. You do not need to be perfect to live awake. You will forget. You will fall back into old patterns. That's part of the journey. Awakening is not about never falling asleep again. It is about waking up a little sooner each time. It is about noticing when you are lost and gently returning to the present, without shame, without blame. Each return is a victory. Each small act of attention is a revolution against numbness. Each breath fully felt, each sunset fully seen, each tear fully honored is a way of saying yes to life. You are not here merely to survive your days. You are here to live them, to touch them, to be touched by them, to let them shape you into something wiser, gentler, truer. You are here to wake up, not once, but again and again, until waking up becomes your natural way of being. And when it does, you will see that life has been waiting all along, not for your perfection, but for your full, courageous presence. Nothing less, nothing more. Simply you, fully alive, fully awake. Conclusion: awakening the power within to transform your world. You have traveled deep within yourself. You have listened to the silent currents shaping your life, felt the hidden energy that has always been yours, broken through invisible walls of old beliefs, and glimpsed the clarity and depth that arise when you live fully awake. You have tasted what it means to move with life rather than against it, to flow with the universe, to breathe in tune with existence itself. Yet, this is only the beginning. Awakening is not a finish line. It is a living path, unfolding moment by moment, breath by breath. Some days it will feel effortless, as if the river carries you without resistance. Other days it will ask you to remember, gently but persistently, the truth you have touched here, that you are not separate from the flow. You are the flow. The power you seek has never been outside of you. It has been quietly waiting beneath the noise, beneath the striving, beneath the forgetting. Now, as you step forward from this moment, you carry with you not a burden of techniques to memorize, but a remembering, a trust in the quiet energy that moves within and around you. Living fully awake does not mean you will never suffer. On the contrary, you may feel life even more deeply, its beauty, its tenderness, its impermanence. But you will meet both joy and sorrow with open eyes, with an open heart. You will suffer consciously, not blindly. And each conscious encounter with life will shape you into someone freer, gentler, wiser. The invisible walls that once confined you will become visible, and with each breath of awareness, they will soften. You will no longer be imprisoned by old stories, old fears. You will remember your true nature, spacious, resilient, alive. If this journey has stirred something inside you, a deeper breath, a softer heart, a clearer vision, then know you are not alone. Across this vast world, others are waking too, each in their own way, each following the silent call back home. Awakening the power within is not an act of conquering life. It is the art of moving with life, trusting its currents, offering your gifts, and receiving its grace. Transformation happens not by force, but by returning, again and again, to the source that has always lived within you. If you feel called to walk further on this path, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel to nourish the awakening you have begun. Share this journey with others who may be searching for a light in the dark. Leave a comment if you feel moved to share your reflections. And if this video spoke to your soul, simply offer a like, not out of duty, but as a small ripple of gratitude, returning to the source. When you are ready to continue, know that more doors are waiting. Each video, each reflection, each breath is a new step into the infinite unfolding of awareness. Explore, wonder, deepen. Let the journey carry you further. You are not here merely to survive your days. You are here to live them, to touch them, to be touched by them, to be shaped into something freer and more luminous by each encounter. May you move gently through this world, awake and unafraid. May you live each day with eyes wide open, heart wide open, and may you remember, the river flows within you, and you are already home. The journey never ends because life itself is the journey. And every breath, every moment, every choice is an invitation to awaken and to live the energy you were born to be.